I mean, like talking about on-premise in particular, Alejandro. Like you and Filiberto like spoke previously about the fact that it was a quasi monopoly. Like the vermouth category was a quasi monopoly. Let's call it a duopoly. There was the French way and the Italian way mainly of doing vermouth, and of course there's a Spanish way. But we went from there to actually like many people and craft producers starting to produce vermouth, and now it's produced in from Scotland to Australia, pretty much all around the world. What is your how do you compete in this context of very going from a quasi monopoly to a very fragmented craft space?
You're right. I mean, there is a big craft movement developing in vermouth, particularly in Spain and to a certain extent in Italy as well. This is a sign of health, and there's a sign of interest. And I think that as a player in this market, it is something that energizes me. It gives an opportunity to have a lot of different conversations. With competitors, but also with the bars the bartenders that interact with our own product. I think that you do need to have a lot of players in for a category to run to get momentum. It's a little bit of you don't quite know which one leads to the other, but they both fit one another as well. And I think this is great. When you look at it from a more international perspective, so a lot of these craft manufacturers, they don't have an intent to go internationally. They are very happy to serve a local community. Some of the other ones, they would like to, but it's one of the hardest things in developing a spirits brand is having an access to the distribution channel and get to the consumer, and particularly when you talk from an expert perspective. So I think that is going to be where the big differences happen over the years, and there will be a natural selection process that, of course, all of us are going to try to fight to be on the ones that make it at the other end. And I think if we look at, I was talking about gin earlier. If we look at the way gin has developed, it has been very similar. It started with also a duopoly 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and then one brand comes, it becomes exciting, and then the next thing you know, 200 brands are launching every year, and you wonder who needs another gin. Well, it doesn't matter if you need it or not. It, in a way, is part of a process. It's part of a momentum. Sometimes the momentum reaches bubble territory, and then things start to contract again.